Hello, welcome back to Access. Today I'm joined by Nicholas, who's design director on Star Wars Battlefront. Good to meet you, Nicholas. How are you?
Good to meet you. I'm good.
I've just had my very first go, Dave and I, on Fighter Squadron, which is new for Gamescom. This is like every Star Wars fan's fantasy. You know, how exciting is it for you guys to finally show off this new mode and get people playing it for the first time?
Yeah, it's really exciting, of course. I mean, I can remember myself, watching the movies and jumping into a cockpit of an X-Wing or a TIE Fighter, just duking it out and having this epic Star Wars battle. It's really, really a joy for us to be here and show it, and it's such a great time to see the fans get their hands on.
So how have you approached this specific mode? Talking specifically about Fighter Squadron, dogfighting mode. It's 10v10, but there are 10 AI in there as well. I guess that's to make it feel like you're in this massive, epic kind of dogfighting battle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's 10v10, and then each side also has 10 AI fighters. What that means is that you really have this epic cluster of fighters. It's a real, it's really a dogfight, right?
Yes.
And what it also does is that it allows players who perhaps not so used to, they're not able pilots, they're training or they're newbies.
Yeah.
They get to actually be able to have lots of targets for them to take out. So I think it works really well from accessibility and also creates this really epic feeling, which I think is great.
Yeah, and we've got X-Wings versus TIE Fighters. Can you give us a little brief insight into the kind of capabilities each of those aircraft have, what weapons they have, what shields they have, what abilities they have?
Yeah, they're different in the way that they work. Like you said, they have different abilities, and one example is that you can either have like a shield, which makes you capable defensively, but then you can also have speed boosts and to boost your aggressive capability. And then all the fighters also have a reactor where you can basically switch your power output into either cannons or engines. So you can choose yourself if you want to be like slow and very, very powerful when it comes to cannons, or fast and nimble and hard to hit, but then have less power for your cannons. So it's up to you how you want to play it.
When I was playing, one of the things I enjoyed most, and I surprised myself actually, was not attacking but evading. Like when you've got someone locked onto you and they're chasing you, putting all your power into your engines, trying to evade, boosting, doing evasive maneuvers. Is that what you're trying to go for? Make people, not just try and go around, blasting everything out of the sky, but have enjoyment in, just that, trying to escape as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we have evasive maneuvers for you to perform. Like you can see, like if you have someone on your tail, you try to turn around, and then you end up in this kind of circling motion. You can break that by doing barrel rolls and immelments to just evade missiles and lose pursuers, and just have more things to do in your fighter and be more like a really cool pilot.
And could you give us a little insight into how the power-up rewards work? Because we've got Millennium Falcon, Boba Fett ship is in there. You would think they'd be tied to kill streak rewards, but they're not. Can you explain how you players get to pilot those ships?
Yeah, what we want to do when it comes to getting, for example, to fly the Millennium Falcon as a hero vehicle, or the Slave One, like you mentioned, is not to give it only to the top 10% or something like that, to really just make the better players even better, or the good players even better. So we included these ships into the power-up system. So it basically means that if there's lots of clouds for you to take cover behind when you are pursued by enemy fighters. But what you can do is that you can risk going down where there's not any cloud cover, close to the ground, but that's where you find the power-up. So that's when you can all right, I think I'm safe. I'm going to go down, and you might get rewarded by finding the Millennium Falcon.
Fantastic stuff. And also, just the visual authenticity is one thing, but one thing that really struck me was how the game sounds. Halfway through the battle, the music just kicks in, and all of a sudden just plummeting through clouds with fire going all across you, ships just flying at you, and it feels like you're in a Star Wars movie. It's a cheesy thing to say, but and the sound of it really seems to it's the thing that really puts the icing on the cake in that respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited and happy to actually be able to do that, because it's a collaboration, of course, between the awesome sound department we have and the fantastic sound guys over at Lucasfilm, and just having those two come together is the reason why it sounds like it does, and it's fantastic.
And what did you do to achieve that kind of authenticity? You talked about the sound, but also the visuals as well. How do you achieve the look of it? And because Star Wars fans, I imagine, whilst they're very enthusiastic, they must be very unforgiving if it's not absolutely spot on perfect. So how much research did you have to do, and what did you do to make sure you nailed the look and the feel of Star Wars?
Yeah, that was one of the most exciting things I think I've ever done, because what we were able to do is to go to the Lucas vaults, the Lucas archives, and actually be able to handle and reference from the real thing.
Wow.
Just being able to do that was an amazing trip in its own, but it also, it gives us so much things, so much authenticity. It's like I think we said before that when you are hopping into an X-Wing, it's not an X-Wing, it's the X-Wing, because it actually is. It's a real model, and it's taken from that, and that's just what brings that authenticity to life.
And like in the moment-to-moment gameplay, then how does the mode work? We've got you get points for killing AI, you get more points for killing opponents, but then there are also extra objectives that come in, ships that you can attack and have to defend. How do they work, and how does that alter the balance of the gameplay?
Yeah, so like you say, the goal with the mode is to get to a certain point limit for the enemy team. But there are many ways to get those points. Mm-hmm. So you can either shoot down enemy fighters, and that gives you a certain amount of points. But then you can shoot down enemy pilots, basically, the enemy players, which gives you more points. But then periodically, each side can have these transports spawn in, and they try to escape. They try to escape the battle and get to safety. And you don't want that to happen, of course, if it's an enemy transport. So then you need to take it down, and you get a huge amount of points if you successfully do that. However, of course, that also means that you need to defend your transport when it's trying to escape, so the enemy doesn't just take it back. So that's the balance that you get in the mode.
Amazing. Well, the game is looking and sounding incredibly spectacular. So thank you so much for your time, Nicholas.
Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure to play it.
Thank
That
you.
is Star Wars Battlefront. Let us know in the comments what you think of it. It really is looking and playing fantastic. And also don't forget to subscribe, as we've still got loads more coming up from Gamescom.